Rally on their position and do what you can.
Number 2 jointly, we also have 2 games. First of all, we have Black, which appeared on the PlayStation 2. If you love destructible environments, then this game was programmed so that every single bullet hole will knock a chunk out of the landscape, and if you hit that landscape often enough, then it will get destroyed, and you along with it, and glass shatters and stones react and things blow up all over the place. And Black is one of my favourite shooters of all time. Black is one of the ultimate sneak 'em up games because you can't afford to run in gung-ho, and if you do, you better make sure that you have enough health, otherwise you'll be out of health and having to struggle towards the next medipack. And if I get my head blown off here, then that's game over. You get 1 life in Black, but you can carry up to 3 medipacks, and destroying secondary targets for a little bonus is great, but what we have to do is to make our way to the exit and of course survive. There are only 6 scenarios in the entire game, but each one will take at least an hour to get through, and some of those will take several hours, so it's a slog of the highest order. You cannot save your game halfway through, you have to make it to the checkpoint alive. Black, you are always pinned down and under fire, but you're always given a chance to survive. It is a lot easier than Crisis that we saw earlier on. It is not a first-class first-person shooter. It is very arcadey in its feel, and sometimes you can even trigger the environment to flush out the bad guys. Black is my favourite shooter on the PS2, but it is not my favourite game of all time, and this is only ranked number 2. And the other joint ranked number 2 is actually my favourite shooter of all time. Yes, it's Far Cry Instinct's Predator, available on the Xbox 360.
Far Cry Instinct's Predator.
This is perfect, Mr. Carver. My editor wasn't joking about this place.
Whatever. Listen, I'll swing around to the east so you can get some shots of the wrecks. But this is as close.
Far Cry Instinct's Predator is not the same Far Cry which was released on the PC some years before. Far Cry Instincts is actually a completely different game created for the consoles. It is more of an arcade shooter, whereas the original Far Cry is more of a simulation, not as much of a simulation as Crisis, but this game is easier and more fun, and it even has a great storyline, maybe not the greatest in the world, but cheesy B-movie in quality. And the first time I played this, I thought the storyline was dumb as heck, until I played the story of the other Far Cry games, and then I realised the story in this is actually pretty smart. And, well, stories are pretty dumb these days, and you don't really get much. You can see this is an island paradise, and when we begin, we are a simple, well, boat for hire, and what we are is being attacked, and we have to lay it. The game begins tough and gets tougher as we find our way around a ship.
I'm coming for you. Might as well come out. Where is he? Come on, you women.
We really do feel isolated and alone on the island, and it isn't long before we start murdering people and the body count starts to pile up. Of course, we can stab them in the back and kill them using firearms and grenades and other weapons, including tree branches and traps and mines and things that we can rig up, which will blow up the enemy. But in the main, it's best to sneak up the enemy and to take our time, because once again, if we wade into the action, we'll get shot to pieces. This is not a puzzle game, and the very few puzzles which are in the game are very easy to work out. And how are we supposed to get to that checkpoint? Well, by jumping on a few items, the solution presents itself, and the cutscenes in this game, like most of the best games, tend to blend into the story. Sometimes they are intrusive, but sometimes they are great.
Hello. I'm talking to the individual who just had his boat destroyed. I know you can hear me. You have to get in the water immediately.
As the game progresses, we will move on to various different islands. Each of those feel massive, and the sun will rise and set various times. We'll have to march through night and day, early evening and morning, and we'll also have to find other vehicles as well, because there are different vehicles to pick up in the game and drive around, including trucks and, well, jet skis and different forms of enemy vehicles which we'll have to commandeer. It's easy to be under attack at every stage, and so the best thing to do is to creep up the enemy slowly, not like you can see in this playthrough, because trying to rush through it is an easy way to die. One of the best things is the graphics, and you can see it isn't quite as good as Crysis, but for my money it is one of the better graphic games. Yes, the leaves might look a little bit blocky, but from a distance these graphics look absolutely amazing, and it really is like playing on your own tropical island. By the time you finish this game, you're the only one still alive.
Oh yeah, that exit was just like you described it.
Save the critique for later. Crow's Jarheads kept busy while you were playing Tunnel Rat.
Meaning?
They've modified a microwave tower about a click southwest of you. They bring it online, bypass the signal. Find a vehicle, follow the river at the end of the tower.
The game's marvellous graphics really take the breath away, and you can see the glider. We can definitely reach that glider and those ropes later on, and you can see over there that patch of ground. Yes, we will have to climb up that patch of ground sooner or later. These graphics are not here for decoration. We will have to move through that landscape and trek through every single inch of it using all the vehicles at our disposal. Far Cry Instinct's Predator is not a hand-holding game, and even though it is infinitely more linear than Far Cry on the PC, linearity doesn't mean it is easy, and if you make the mistakes, well, you will die and you'll have to restart from that checkpoint, and I've had to restart from the same checkpoint over and over and over again. As the game gets deeper, it gets darker and more scary, and, well, you will find yourself jumping out of your chair sometimes at the difficult battles and the difficult enemies in this game. Later on, we will also gain feral abilities so that we can smell the enemy, see their scent trails, have a huge leap, we can climb trees and rocks, we can have a massive jump and a huge run as well, and it always frightens us out of our skin.
It was paradise found, if you ignored all the heavily armed pirates.
If that wasn't enough, you will also find the Predator expansion pack on the very same disc, which gives us an even bigger scenario and a more open world scenario. It isn't a long mission like the original Instincts, but it is another open world scenario where we can take our time and we can actually activate different things and accomplish the mission in any order. And for this one, I'm actually being pinned down, as you can see. So what I'm going to use is a jet ski to get myself away from those enemies. And what do we find? Well, we actually find a gunboat, which has an infinite supply of ammunition, which means all we need to do is to get aboard that gunboat and use that against the enemies. And so using the landscape against the enemies is a great thing in Far Cry, and it's something that you really have to use, and it's great when one of these things actually makes it and you actually get around the game with your own ingenuity. Far Cry Instincts Predator disc took me maybe 6 months to get through end to end. I completed it on Rookie and then I went through it again on Hunter mode. You can see I can even pick up Adrenaline and we can see in the dark, and we have massive feral abilities, which means we can swipe the enemy with our mere claws, and as you play the game you will turn more and more into an animal and you will realise that you are an animal by the end of the game. Finally, at number 1, the game that I've spent the most hours with, in fact the most months with in my entire life, maybe even years. Yes, it's San Andreas, the GTA 5 before it was GTA 5. And of course, most people on the planet have heard about this game and have played CJ and his quest to take back the neighbourhood from the Baller gang who've invaded his territory while he's been away in prison. And it is littered with memorable cutscenes and memorable characters, and the story is amazing, the soundtrack is amazing. You can do whatever you like in the city. You can go and get your haircut in a variety of different styles. You have to watch your waistline as well and make sure you don't get fat, otherwise, well, you'll get fat. And you can also train and do different things. You can spray tags and take back the Grove the easy way, by making sure you mark out your territory, and you can also take on the missions as well, some of those in any order. Some of those are incredibly memorable, and some of those missions are, well, sometimes those are almost cinema quality.
I don't like motherfuckers.
And in the meantime, it's a fighting, driving, exploring, shooting game where we can make up our story as we go along, and sometimes that story is very funny and very atmospheric. Of course, the soundtrack and the various radio stations are absolutely on fire. The map is colossal. It is one of the biggest maps ever seen in a video game. And once you've completed Los Santos, then you go into the wilderness, and then San Fierro, and then some more wilderness as you learn to fly, and then we managed to get to the casinos in Las Venturas, whilst also picking up various items including horseshoes and pearls that we can find dotted around, and also stars which will help us evade the law. We can train up so that we are big and strong and very muscular, and we can also train up our various driving, fighting and shooting skills so that we can take on any enemy in any order. We can check out our new threads, we can go mountain biking, we can go long distance running, we can swim, we can use helicopters and jets and even a jetpack. We can climb into any vehicle in the game and create havoc. We can do drive-by shootings, we can compete in an arena on a bike and in a car. We can also jet around on different speedboats and different waterborne items. We can also take on the missions, and we can also evade the law. And one of the most important things is to run all the way back home again when we are almost about to run out of energy, and that will give us full energy back. I remember it took me 6 months to complete this game the first time I tried it, and of course as soon as I completed the game I started it all over again and tried to complete it all over again, because this game is so massive it will take your time, and compared to GTA 5 I was very disappointed with GTA 5 while I was blown away with this game.
About to open fire!
Buy our own houses, we can save up for very expensive items, we can fire any guns, we can be a truck driver. There is no end of missions in this game, and even the learning to fly section is really difficult. If you can't do that, then you can be a BMX champion, you can be a driver champion, you can even be a stunt taxi driver in this game's very own edition of Crazy Taxi, which can be just as mayhem as Crazy Taxi. Try pimping missions, we can try ambulance missions, and we can even try police missions and fire truck missions. In fact, there are endless missions in this game. Just when you thought you'd seen every mission, it pulls up another side quest, and it's always fun to explore the backwoods and to find those really great rides that you've always wanted, even the Bigfoot truck. And so this game is vast and it's endless. It's by far my favourite GTA, and it's the one that I have the biggest and the best memories of, and it's even fun to just check out the landscape and to check out the camera and take some photographs.
Always pulling up.